What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Lucian and I am a full-time videographer and drone pilot based in the Bay Area. Today, I got a really fun video for you guys because as you can see right here, I have my everyday camera kit all in this little case right here. And in today's video, I'm gonna open this up and show you guys all of the individual pieces of kit that I use on a daily basis. And trust me, I know that there's so many videos on YouTube right now about all sorts of gear, their specs, all that boring information. Don't worry, we're not gonna dive too much into that. I'm going to explain to you guys my real world and personal experience with all of the gear in this case and show you guys exactly why I chose them and why I personally love them. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. All right, so let's start off with the main beef, the main meat of my kit, which is obviously my camera bodies. Camera bodies are super important for the work I do, obviously. The most of the work I do is actually real estate right now, which I talked about in my previous video. So it's really important for me to have two cameras actually. So right here, I have the Sony a7 III. This was actually basically one of my first professional cameras I bought a few years ago, and I really love this camera. I mean, this camera is an absolute workhorse. It takes really great pictures and video. But actually a few things happened to this camera. Like number one, the audio jack stopped working on this camera, which is kind of unfortunate. And also the micro SD card slot, the regular SD card slot number 2 stopped working. But honestly, for my uses, neither of these drawbacks really affect its everyday usage. Like number one, I only use one SD card slot. And number two, I don't really care about the audio jack because I have another camera right here, which is the Sony ZV-E1, which we're gonna talk about next. But I really love the Sony a7 III because a lot of the work I do is just photos. You know, for a lot of these real estate listings, I'm just doing simple, HDR photos. It's like a 3-photo bracket, and the a7 III does absolutely amazing. I just throw this thing on the tripod. I have the 16-35 FE-PZ Sony lens here, and this is absolutely perfect. It's nice and lightweight. 16 is really the widest I need to go for photos. That's all you need for photos. And it just gets the job done. Autofocus is absolutely amazing, and it's just a really sharp lens, really clean lens. So I love having the a7 III. And you guys might be wondering, like, why do I need two cameras? Yeah, like sure, if I had the a7 III and if the headphone jack was working, I could probably just get away with just using this camera. But what I found is that at a lot of these shoots I'm doing, it's really helpful to have two cameras because a lot of the times, especially when I'm doing like these twilight shoots, like I'm legit running around, like there's so much going on because sometimes there's people in the house, I'm losing light. It's so helpful to have this camera just live on the tripod and to be dedicated just for photos, while my ZV-E1 could be ready on the gimbal and it could just be ready to go for video. So I don't have to always be switching camera bodies, putting it on the gimbal and stuff because you guys know how much time that takes. Like it's actually kind of a hassle to change plates, put it on the gimbal, rebalance it. You know, it's a lot of work. So I just love having this camera just live on the tripod and be dedicated for photos. And then I have my ZV-E1 here to just take care of all the video needs. So that's really awesome. I love having two camera bodies. All right, moving on to my second camera body, which I already mentioned, which is the Sony ZV-E1. And honestly, I really love this camera. I got this camera probably like a year or two ago and I really like it. I just got it at Best Buy. And the reason why I got it is because obviously number one, the microphone jack stopped working on my a7 III, and that leaves the 6600, which I'm shooting on right now, which is actually an APS-C sensor. It's getting kind of outdated, but I was using that for video stuff. But I don't love going from full frame to APS-C. Like it just makes everything kind of more work, because stuff isn't as wide. And it's just not really that nice to go between full frame and APS-C. I like being able to just have full frame and just everything's in the same system. So I really love this Sony ZV-E1, number one, because it's lightweight, it's really easy to use, has amazing autofocus. And my favorite thing about it is that it actually has the same sensor as the FX3 in the a7S III. And I really love the modern updated Sony sensors. Like, at first, I wasn't sure how much of a difference it would be to the a7 III, which is still full frame sensor, but ever since they released the a7S III and updated that sensor, that new sensor is really awesome, especially for low light. This camera shoots 10-bit 422, S-Log 3. I have that dual native ISO. I could go all the way up to 12,800. And even when I go above 12,800, it's still really clean. And a lot of the shoots I'm doing for real estate is I'm doing these twilight videos where I'm doing videos during the day, but then I stay there at sunset and after the sun dips, and I get those really cool glowing shots of the house at night. And I really like the ZV-E1 because it's really forgiving in low light, you know, like these older sensors like the A7 III, like once it starts getting pretty dark, like it gets really grainy once you start pushing the ISO, you know, like even though it's full frame, it just struggles a little bit. But this new sensor, like doesn't matter what ISO I'm at, like sometimes I go above 12,800 and it still looks clean and it's still good enough to deliver for clients. So I really love that about the ZV-E1. I also like how it's kind of just like more of like a vlogger centric body, you know, like obviously I kind of wish I had the FX3 maybe. Like I like how professional it looks. I like those mounting points. I think it looks really cool, but let's be honest, like I'm just shooting mostly real estate and like general videography stuff, you know, like I'm not shooting feature films. I'm not shooting the creator, you know, so I don't need all those professional features the FX3 has. Here, I basically have the FX3 sensor, but it's in a really lightweight body. And there's actually some cool features in it that the FX3 doesn't have. Like for example, like the autofocus I think is actually better, you know, like there's some really great features in this thing and it's just really easy to use. Like I use this camera so much now that like when I'm just shooting detail shots and other shots with it, like my muscle memory is really attuned to it. Like I'm just cranking the shutter speed. I'm able to change the ISO really fast. Like it's just a really easy and user-friendly camera to use. And I think the ZV-E1 is a really great camera for real estate because it's really important to get a lot of detail shots, you know, like when I'm shooting a lot of these really nice houses, there's some really nice staging, really nice lights, really nice features of the house. And I really love using this lens here, which is the Tamron 20-75 f2.8. And I really love this lens for real estate because I'm able to just throw this in on the gimbal, go into 75, stay at 2.8, and then you're able to get really nice bokeh, really nice compression at that 75mm. And even though it's only 2.8, like you're able to get really great background blur and bokeh on this lens. So I really love this camera in combination for anything, but especially real estate, works really well. And you guys might be wondering, like, no, I don't only use the 20-75. I use this obviously mostly for the detail shots, close-up shots, but I also have this lens right here. This is the Sony full frame 12-24 G lens. And no, this is not the G Master lens. They do have a G Master series, which goes down to f2.8, but this lens is a workhorse as well. A lot of the times I will just go ahead and throw this thing on the ZV-E1 and I'll be getting my shots. I'll be shooting vertical content, horizontal, doesn't really matter, and it's just an absolute workhorse. It is f4, which is a kind of a downside, but like I said, the sensor is so nice on the ZV-E1, it really doesn't matter what f number I'm at. Like, I usually keep it at f4 for video, but then I can just crank that ISO for low light stuff. So absolutely amazing. All right, next thing that is really important for being a videographer to have in your kit is audio. Right now, you can hear it right now, I'm using the DJI Mic. This is just the first DJI Mic, and I really love this mic system. So this thing basically lives in here. I always use it. I use it all the time for real estate. And I'm gonna be honest, like not every realtor wants to be on camera. Like most of the time they don't want to, but there's always gonna be realtors that wanna say something real quick for the Instagram reel, for their videos. So I keep this thing in here. As you can see, I'm using it right now for the video. It has a really long battery life. Like I barely ever have to charge this thing. You know, like as I mentioned, I don't use it all the time for work, but I use it all the time for YouTube, obviously. But yeah, the battery life is absolutely amazing on the case. It charges everything, the receiver and the transmitter. And I really like the fact that it comes with two. If there's two realtors, you can mic both of them up. And it's really easy. I love the DJI mic because you don't have to use that wire thing. You know, like obviously you could use the wire, you could hide it, put it in their pocket, but let's be honest, like it's really awkward to like mic someone up with the wire. You have to like kind of touch their shirt and stuff, but this thing's really simple. It's really straightforward. You can just clip it on for them. Everyone's seen it before. They could just hold it like this, like a vlogger, you know, like really easy to use. I really love the DJI mic because the audio is really clear. The interface is really easy to use on the little, on the receiver. It's touchscreen. And I also like that it comes with these little dead cats. These are really important actually because when you're filming outside, the wind will absolutely destroy your audio. But when I'm doing outside stuff, I'll just throw this thing on, mic up the person, and the audio is really crisp. I know it doesn't have 32-bit flow audio like the DJI Mic 2 does, but I personally don't mind. For the job I do and my YouTube stuff, the DJI Mic 1 does absolutely fine. So I love the DJI Mic. All right, next, moving on to one of my favorite pieces of kit in my arsenal, which is the DJI RS4 Pro. And I really love this gimbal. And I'm gonna be honest, it might be a little bit overkill for my work. Like I probably could have gotten away with just like the regular RS4, because I mean, those can support Sony cameras with a big lens, etc. But I feel like my philosophy is to always just get kind of like the most professional, the most robust piece of kit. I mean, I'm not really shooting on the Komodo anymore. I don't usually have like a huge camera setup with all this weight, but I like having a gimbal that you can grow into and that's more robust, because sure, I could use like the RS4 Mini and stuff, but my friend Griffin, he has the RS3 Mini and it just like feel like it's not that professional. Like sure, it could support a full frame Sony camera with the 24-70 lens, but just seeing him balance it and just using it myself, like it's just definitely struggling. So I would always recommend getting just like the most professional piece of kit, because this thing is just really easy to use. And you know, sky's the limit. Like I could be putting bigger cameras, like I'm never struggling with it. Like I feel like I could grow into it. Like I'm never worried about the fact that it can't support the camera I'm trying to put on. And for the type of work I do, like I'm always on the move. I'm always kind of crunching against time. So I don't want to have to hassle with like a tiny gimbal and being worried about how to balance it. By having a huge gimbal like this, I'm able to just always have that confidence, that peace of mind that whatever I throw it at, it's gonna support, whether it's my iPhone, my Sony, doesn't matter what lens, it's gonna get the job done. Everything works really seamless, and I really love how it like auto locks. When you turn it on, it like sets itself up. It's really high tech, and my favorite part about this gimbal is the upgraded algorithm actually. I'm coming from the Ronin RS2, and at first I thought like, I'm not sure if I need a new gimbal. I mean, RS2 is okay for what it is, but my RS2 was kind of struggling. Like the horizon wasn't staying steady, and for real estate, that's really important, because as soon as it goes like this, the shot's kind of ruined, you know? So ever since I upgraded to the RS4 Pro, my horizon is rock steady. But my favorite part about it is the updated algorithm. Like at first I thought that was all BS and it was all marketing, but ever since I started using this thing, like it feels way smoother. Like when I look at the shots again, like I feel like I can't really see my steps, you know? Like the way it just processes the movement, the way it stabilizes the footage in the camera is absolutely mind-blowing. Like it's a really great gimbal, and I use this thing all the time. And I really love this gimbal, and I strongly believe in buying gear that you like and that's really professional, because it makes working more fun, you know? Like if I was using like a shitty gimbal, like it would make work just more miserable, you know? Like I'm already busting my ass every day, driving all these places, shooting all the time, and if I'm using a gimbal I don't like and I don't appreciate, and that's not really working that well, it's gonna make my job more miserable. But by having a nice gimbal like this, it makes work more exciting. I'm like, okay, let's go, let's get those shots, and it makes shooting just more of a joy, which is what I'm doing all the time. So that's why I strongly believe in buying just nice gear for yourself. I think it's a good investment. So, but all right guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for that. I feel like I talked a lot already. I'm pretty tired from talking honestly, but hope you guys learned something from this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I really love my gear kit. I use it all the time for work. I don't really feel the need to upgrade it anytime soon. I really love my kit. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please hit that like button, please hit subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I'm almost at 2K now. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.